everyone, welcome back to my new model barmy channel and part 3 of my Cruel Sea N-gauge dockyard layout. So let's have a look at what I've been up to.
Right, so this is where I'm at. Excuse the camera work because I'm not on a tripod because I just haven't got the room to get one in here and show you this layout. I bought the Corvette out just to get an idea of scale, so that and the crane, because I really wanted to see where I was going to position all these buildings relative to the ship and the picture that I'm trying to replicate. So let's just remind ourselves of what that is. So that's a still from the film, The Cruel Sea, and I'm trying to replicate essentially that shot there with the two buildings in the background. Now, I know that the far background is totally different, but this is a fictitious dockyard, as was the dockyard in the film, because the film is fictitious. Nicholas Montserrat, although he served on a corvette in the war, The Cruel Sea is a novel after all. So therefore, rivet counters can now look away, because there will be inaccuracies all over this. This is not based on a specific dockyard. It was filmed at Devonport. There's bits and pieces that may look a bit like Devonport. There will be bits and pieces that look like Portsmouth. After all, this layout is a tribute to my late father, who loved the film The Cruel Sea and the novel, and I wanted to build this for him because he bought the 172nd kit of the Corvette years ago, which I never finished for him, and I always regret that. So I'm sure that he won't mind any inaccuracies. I'd like to think he's smiling down on this build, maybe apart from the swearing during the build, but he might have joined in on that. Swearing namely because of the sheer number of windows that I've had to cut out. And if there's one job I find really tedious, it's cutting out window apertures, particularly if they're arched. But there we are. So the back building is going to be very low relief, and it's just propped up there at the moment, and I still don't know what I'm going to do with the top of these two buildings at the side, because I really want them to travel up a little bit higher so that they hide the corners of the backboard, which is now on order. Now, my dilemma is these two buildings here. I rather like the idea of them being symmetrical, so you can actually see the, I suppose, grand entrance to the naval dockyard building at the back there. However, it does make this a little bit tight operationally for the crane. So, you know, therefore, is that correct? Don't know. And it gives me a large area here that I've got to do something with. So I've really got to decide whether I'm going to make these symmetrical as they are placed at the moment, or whether I'm going to shift them over to the right there to give me more room on the left to make that loading area a bit more plausible. On the detail front, what I am going to add are two anti-aircraft batteries. So one of them there, so they're both Oerlikon cannons, the same as the ones on the bridge wings on the ship. So two more Oerlikons there, and I'm going to put another battery on the top of this building here. So that's where I'm at the moment. I've got to really sort out this building at the back, I think, next. I've started detailing up the buildings as far as adding on some brick detail, so lintels and things like that. And obviously I've got to paint the windows and then paint I've got to prime all the buildings. So yeah, that's where we're at the moment. So any comments or suggestions would be most welcome. But yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. It's a kind of effect I wanted to achieve. And for those that have not seen this before, there is a tiny fiddle yard which at the moment is just about see the track there. Is covered in windows at the moment, so I've got to try and remember which windows go in which building. But yeah, so I hope you like the progress as it's taking shape so far, and I'll see you in a bit. Right then, I've made my mind up. The building's going to be symmetrical, so it'll give an unobstructed view to the entrance of the building at the back there. But that meant that I had a bit of a gap between the two buildings. So what I've done, I've built the entrance to an air raid shelter. So I guess there would have to be some kind of shelter within running distance, I suppose, of an air raid. So I had a look at some pictures of other air raid shelter entrances that were built in dockyard establishments, and came up with this design. So I've made it sort of drop away at the back there, as if it's sort of heading on down underground, so that also allowed a better view of the building at the back. This gap this side, I'm going to partially fill. I've created a couple of tanks, which would be, I don't know, water, probably nothing combustible. Anyway, something there in a walled enclosure, and they're just they're the innards of our card machines at work. So when the roll of papers run out, there's a plastic inner, so I always put those to good use. So because I'm still waiting for the backboard, which is on its way from Grange and Hodder, I thought I'd sort of mock up out of a piece of foam board what the backboard would be like in terms of height. Now, one thing that has dawned on me is if I just move that round there, you can actually see the opening where the train will pass through into the fiddle yard. I'm not really keen on that, because I don't really want the baseboard, the sky I suppose that I'm going to paint the baseboard, going down to the ground. I'd rather get that broken up with a building. So what I think I'm going to do is fill this bit in here with something which might mean a little bit of reworking of this building here. So I'm going to probably tackle that next before I get too far with anything else, and just create an extension of this building with a sort of underpass for the train to go under. So it won't replicate this side, it'll look different, and it'll look hopefully part of that building. This side, the left hand side, I don't know that you're going to be able to see it particularly, so I might not have to worry about that, but I think at some point I'm going to have to put the canopy back on and have a look at all my viewing angles. I think primarily it's going to be mainly from the front like this, but that's not to say you couldn't see other angles, so I need to cover all my bases. Anyway, I think I'm going to leave that there as an update this time. So we're getting there slowly. Anyway, thanks for bearing with us, and I'll see you on the next episode. So take care everyone, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.